You put it in your tailstock and then you put your finial in there and finish it up. It's got a little ball bearing in there. And then these are just, again, tailstocks. This is a hard one. Instead of using metal, it doesn't mark your wood. This is a softer type of material that you can press in and it'll flatten out. And then this is another for hollow forms. You put it in your tailstock, you put your hollow form, you screw this down so it'll hold it, and then you bring your tailstock up and then you can work the bottom. And I said the company's name is Rubber Chucky.
Was that Rudy something?
I don't know.
Yeah. Real nice thing. Is that like Rubber Jackie?
Yeah.
They're brothers.
They're brothers.
Chucky
Yeah.
instead. It's a doll.
Okay, mine is simple.
Robert? There's an adapter missing. I can't put it up on the TV tonight.
Mine are simple. I asked Robert, make sure that no one would get grossed out. But what I'm doing, I'm upcycling, whatever that you guys want to call it. These are, some of you know I have neck problems, so at times it really bothers me. So I use this Salonpas. It's Japanese-made pain patch. But when I'm done, after 8 hours, yeah, you're supposed to take it off. When I'm done, I take it off. And this material, I don't know what it is. It's a perfect thing to wrap around the lip on your boxes or bowls, whatever, if you have to jam chuck it. And I use these on my little ones, so when I put it back in the chuck, the edges of the jaws will not dig in. So just touch it this way, and I take shower before I put it on. So that's why I asked Robert, so if you guys would gross up, but I don't know what kind of material it is, but it stretches, and since it still has some of the glue, you don't have to do anything. You just wrap it around and stretch it and put it in your chuck jaws. It works really good. And they come in different sizes. I got one of the large sizes. You can pass one around.
That's because you're a pain in the neck.
That's it. And this
I'll be
is
here all week.
now the only tip with that, you cannot cut it with scissors because that glue will catch. You have to put it on something and just with razor cut it. This is what I use on that little small box after it fell down. I had to protect the rim. It was too thin, so this is what I use.
They put it on there to keep the paint level down on the bottom.
I'm sorry?
You keep the paint level down on the bottom.
Yeah, yes.
Turn it around.
Now, the other thing, all of you, I know all of you have, at least most of you, have had blood drawn from you. They give you these. They wrap around your, what it is, again, this is some invention. What it is that if you need to hold those rough edges and you don't want it to come off, because if you put a tape on that thing, sometimes you can, when you're pulling it off, it just knocks off the raw edge. This one, when you do it, there's no glue, nothing, it holds. And I have to put a lot of pressure coming up. So next time you go give blood, don't throw the thing in the trash can, just undo it. I know it might sound gross, but believe me.
You can get used
And
to
I
it.
don't know if we as general public can buy these and where we can.
Yeah, you can buy
At
it.
the feed store.
It's a feed store.
Yeah, there's where you wreck horses' ankles are.
This is the back side of that patch, which is a wax paper, and it's, I don't know, it's really good. When I do epoxy, I put it on this thing and I just throw it away. So that's upcycling.
What is it?
Back side of that patch.
It's a slick spot.
Now, in front of my legs, I have this big plywood that I have a little shelf that I put all my chemicals that I use. And what I did in order not to make mistakes, I went online and I took the picture down, turned around and laminated it, and I put it on the bottle like this with tape. When the bottle gets a little cracky or something like that, throw it away, I still have this. Now, last month, Kirk was nice enough to show me how he does the turquoise inlay. And while I was at his shop, he showed me about this. And I think I've asked the question one time, how the heck do you get into those itty bitty boxes trying to sand it smooth and whatnot? He showed me his mandrel, and I made this, and it has helped a lot. So with the nibs at the end of your bowls or whatever, instead of going and trying to dig, which we had an accident, really bad accident in one of the classes at Kerrville. The guy went, and as soon as the teacher was saying no, he pushed and he dug in. We had to take him to the emergency room. So on those nibs, this worked perfectly, and I used this on the drum. As far as the Velcro, this is a new Velcro. This is an industrial type Velcro, and I got it from some guy. He sent them to me for free. I think tried to try it out, and that's the only thing that will hold up, because I used to have sanding. Was it Vince?
Glove.
No,
Oh.
Vince's small 1 inch, and it never held the small disc, and always slipped. But this, if you guys want, I'll get the name for you. But he was kind enough, he sent me 2 big pack, I think 20 yards each. So I have plenty till I die to make those.
Just ship us some.
Huh?
Just ship us some. You got too much, just give us some.
I'll bring you guys. But what I told him, I said the problem is when we make something like this and we are sanding, it creates heat. So I need some kind of Velcro that will not come off. And guess what? That thing is only glued by the medium CA, and it does hold up. It wears the sand disc, but that has hold up. And thanks to my buddy right here that showed me how to do it. This, I'm making one for Kirk. This, I don't know where I learned it. This one came off of a wind chimes, one of the pipes of the wind chime. But you make yourself a handle and you go at least inch and a half in. And whenever you put in dust into a crack or you want an inlay, this gives you a perfect tip that you can drop it in there without you wasting a lot. Especially when it comes to turquoise, which is not cheap. So I'm making you one. This one again is your old, is an old screwdriver, the ones with the flat tip, which gives you a bigger edge. Somebody showed it to me. You go ahead and grind it and then give it the bevel when you have to get to the nip at the end of your bowl. This makes it really easy to take it off.
Yeah.
Nothing fancy. That's it.
Something real tiny down there.
All right, who's next?
Unlike Nick, who buys all this good stuff, I'm cheap. I make mine out of junk. When you want to stabilize your bowls that you're working on, if you have a bowl you want to stabilize, and you need something to go in the end of it, just make a cone out of a piece of old wood, and so that it fits in there. And if you have already a way to attach it, a small expansion type thing for your chuck. But if it's small, you may not feel real comfortable with it holding. And if you put this on the tailstock and pull it up there, you've got a good solid foundation and it doesn't crack. Now, the good thing about this is you can take your live tailstock and fix the end of this so that this fits in there and it turns. So it'll turn easily with the bowl, with a bowl on there. And this is not difficult to make either. I took 2 Forstner bits, mic'd the outside of this part and drilled that bit, the big bit in first, and then drill the small part, drill that in, took a little gouge and cut it so that it was tapered. As you can see, the tailstock is tapered. So it's tapered to fit in there, and works real well when I'm doing the bowls. This one has one that I can also put in the chuck on this end if I want to use it that way. This one, I can use it the same way. I made it to fit the tail as well for bigger bowls. It can be used in an expansion type chuck at this end. It can be used with a gripping type at this end. And you can use this to, if you're using it in a chuck this way for bowls that are bigger, or if you want to put it in this way and for platters or something like that, you have a flatter bottom that you can run your platter up, your tailstock up, and stabilize it real well. One of the maintenance guys out at, used to be Air Force Village, what are we now? Blue Skies West, yeah, we are. Has a grandson that's really into baseball. And so he asked me one day, now this kid was 5 years old, or 4 years old at this point, but he was really into baseball, and he asked me if I could make a small bat. He had looked everywhere for a bat the right size and couldn't find one. So I made him a bat. And if you want to be able to take the end of a bat and put it into something here, bring the tailstock up at the other end, you can also finish your bat off at both ends with something like that. This is the last thing I'll show you, but it's, I got the idea from Al Sturt. Peggy and I used to carve a lot of aspen bowls, Tom, and we often marked them so that we could get the carvings exactly right. And to do that, we needed something to be able to put a pencil on and be directly in the center of the bowl that we were working on. And so I made this to go in the tailstock, and I tailored a piece of wood that goes on here that gives me the exact distance to the center. If I put that all the way down in my tailstock till it goes in there, lay a pencil on here, the lead will come at the exact point in the center. And using it for bowls, if you've got a bowl on there, it's a little more difficult to get to the front edge. So you can see that it's not a straight edge on here, so that you can use it on curved surfaces like a vase or a bowl or whatever, and be able to mark it in ways and then do your carving and get your accurate spacing done with something like that. That worked real well for us. That's all I've got.
I brought a little something.
Okay, sit down.
Most of y'all have seen this before.
David, we got somebody up here already.
Okay.
You're next.
So I got all excited about Alan Trout when he was doing sanding stuff. It was one of the things I was interested in, and so I did a little research, and online I found a guy that made some diagrams if you wanted to cut your own disc that would wrap around a round ball. And this guy, his name is David Reed Smith at .com. And he basically set these up so you can cut them, so as you put them over a round ball that they will fold up. And there's two lines on here. One is for overlapping and the other one's for just cutting, so it supposedly fits perfect. And he did, he has a 27, well, more than 20, I don't know, 30-some page article on making a 2-inch round ball type thing. So, but they work pretty good, and you can take these on your printer and make them different sizes. But he had a 2-incher and a 5-incher. So I've been messing with those a little bit, but
How do you secure them when doing it?
you can, well, that's up to you. It depends on the paper. Now, if you're using PSA, then you can just make your ball and stick it on. Or if you're using Velcro, then you put Velcro strips, which you could cut similar shape to go on the ball. Although with the Velcro, you don't have to have it completely covered. You can just put some strips on as long as it has a thing. So there's I made a few things and tried this out, and this is kind of like overlapping, and this is PSA. It's a bunch of junk. But if you wrap it in the right direction as your lathe is turning, then it'll work fine. But if you do it the wrong way, then it's going to rip it all off. I found that out. I won't tell you how. So I made a few things. I was doing a couple small forms and had a fairly small opening, so I wanted to try it out and had to keep this pretty small. But it's really hard to get a real small ball. But so I just turned it, and then I put a piece of the foam that you get down at the hobby store that we use for various things. You know, it's what, 1/8 inch or something like that. So I glued that on using the spray and then put on the Velcro. And it works pretty good. If you want to take the time to cut these. This is a 3-inch disc though. The 2-inch discs don't work as well. This is overlapping and it doesn't spin off. So I made a variety for different uses, and you can put foam on all these underneath, makes them a little softer than just having the wood on it. I think you get probably a better finish. So the spray I use is 3M Auto. I think everybody knows about that. They also make a high heat one, which might work better for those of us that sand faster and things get heated up. As far as Velcro goes, I got this at Walmart, and it's called industrial strength. You know, who knows? But I find that really works pretty well. It sticks really good. It's a little heavier than some of the other stuff, and it has an adhesive back to it. You just peel off and stick on.
You find that in the tool section or where in
No, in the sewing area.
Oh.
Go to the sewing area. Yeah, they got a rack of it. You can get different lengths. This one is like 5 feet by 2 inches. So you can cut it up and do a lot with it. The nice thing, it has adhesive back. And today I was messing around and I had a piece of Velcro and I put the spray on it and I attached it to one of the pieces and all the hairs fell out. So the spray apparently just melted the pieces. So I've been messing around with some other little deals. Foam pad. Now there's a place in town called San Antonio Upholstery Supply. And they're down inside where 410 and 35, or excuse me, 281 and 35 come together on the southeast corner. But you can buy foam from them in all different types of density. And you can get like a square foot, and it's really pretty cheap. So I kind of went down and kind of felt around and what I wanted. And this is fairly soft, so these are just bolts. And you can put a hunk of wood on the end and a nut on both sides, and cut a piece of foam, put a little Velcro on it, and you can make it as long as you want, or you can make it as short as you want. If you want a PSA, then you just put a piece of plastic on top that the PSA will stick to, and you can make these any shape, form you want. So they work pretty good. So I was laying in bed this morning before I got up, and I'm thinking, you know, this guy, Reed, that did this thing, he went through this elaborate deal to make this 2-inch round sanding ball. And, I mean,
He's English.
nuts and bolts, and he had foam wrapped and glued and this and that and everything. And I'm thinking, why not just take a ball? So I figured, I got a lot of these. And I said, well, you know, it's not 2 inches, but you can make almost any shape that you want out of a golf ball. It's all plastic inside, it's fairly resilient, it's not super hard, it turns really nice. And so I made a bunch of different shapes depending on what you want to, you know, sand with.
Golf balls are solid?
Yeah,
It gotta be
They're
the
not wrapped
solid
in-
one though.
they're all solid
The
now.
old ones are.
Well,
The old
I have
ones-
two that have those rubber bands inside.
Yeah. That was a long time ago. And some of them had a liquid center, and those are not good to mess with. So let's see, what do I have? I have a Precept, I have a Snake Eyes, I have a Nike, I have a Callaway, and I have a Pro V1. So depending on if you're a beginner or an expert, you can use the Pro V1. So what I did to turn this, and these aren't glued in, I just shoved these in there, and so I made a little deal to put in my chuck, because I didn't have, what do they call the collet, the right size for this is a 5/16 inch. So I just took a dowel, drilled it out, and then split it and stuck it in a chuck and just clamp it down and then turn the ends of these. And I did find out that they work fine with the spray. The spray doesn't melt them down where I've got one here. Oh, here we go. The spray doesn't melt it, so you can use, I started to spray, this is the one that I started off with the other Velcro, that all the hair fell out of it, so it didn't work, so I took a piece of this stuff and glued it on, and it's fine. So as you can see, it's covered on the end too, so if you want to put your paper on there and just put a little flap over the end, then you can get down in the corner of some of those small boxes and clean them up. So
Hey, you might save all
Yeah.
them golf balls I find in the factory, huh?
That's right.
I've got a bag
Those are
of,
golf balls.
for those that are non-golfers, I brought a bag of golf balls, so. Some are Callaways. Yeah. So, the other thing is that I got thinking, I said, well, you know, a golf ball's limited in size, so I happen to have a ball for a racquetball. And I said, well, you know what you do with this, make a shaft, drill a hole, shove the shaft in there. Before you shove the shaft in, they'll rough it up, maybe put some nicks in it and stuff like that. Get a can of spray foam that you use to seal up around the windows and things, not the non-expanding spray foam. Fill the ball with the spray foam, stick your shaft up in there, get it centered as well as you can, and then you have a nice ball. It's got a soft outside. It shouldn't deteriorate on you, and you'll have a bigger deal. Now the other thing you could do with this, if you put a clamp on it, hose clamp, you could squeeze it out a little bit after you put the foam in, squeeze it out and make a little flatter shape rather than just a pure round shape.
You could take a nylon zip tie rather than use a hose clamp.
Yeah.
Pull it tight. That way you.
Well, it's just, the hose clamp will work fine, you take it off then. Same way, you don't have to leave it on. But then you could use almost any kind of rubber balls and stuff to do the same thing. And the key is, though, you test it, if you're gonna use a spray to put Velcro on it or something like that, test it with this to make sure that this doesn't melt the material that you're gonna use as far as the ball goes. I think that's all I have. Now, I have a few sheets of that, those diagrams, if anybody's interested in those. And if I run out, then I'll give you the website.
You drop something and right by this way.
Oh, one other thing, yeah, my notes. Besides the San Antonio upholstery supply, another material that you can use to make almost any shape you want on the end of one of these six is Bondo. automotive Bondo. I mean, it dries fast, it's real easy to work, it sands great, make any shape you want, you can change it anytime you want. And it'll take the spray, you know, nothing hurts it, so that's fairly inexpensive. But Bondo is great. A lot of woodworkers are starting to use it more and more for repairing things that happen. It colors a little bit, but I mean, it's a really good material. So,
The store that you went to for San Antonio, is that the one down on Cherry Street?
yeah, well, it's on Mesquite. It's on Mesquite Street, which is 1 block up from Cherry.
Yeah.
You have to get to it from off Nolan. Go down 281, get off Nolan, and go across the railroad tracks, and then go up, I think, 3 blocks. You know, just 1 block past Cherry. You can turn on Cherry because it wraps around and comes right up at their store too. But yeah, it's and they're very helpful in there. They got all kinds of different foam, and they'll cut you a piece however big you want it. If you want a new mattress, then they'll cut your mattress for you. So if anybody wants golf balls, or if they want a sheet of this, I'll have it. And
You
be
have
happy
to be
to.
careful whenever you go to that upholstery supply place. If you take your wife, they'll normally go across the street to where they have all the upholstery material, and you can spend a lot of time there.
Are you speaking from experience?
Yes.
Yeah, it's cheaper to go alone.
Do you cut the covers off the golf balls with a knife, or do you turn them on?
I just turned them. Yeah, and they adhere. The covers don't peel off usually. So I just turn it off. Or if you want to just smooth the cover and leave it on, the covers are amazingly thin though. So once you get all the dimples off, you're usually going to be pretty much through into the plastic underneath. But
I just remember the old golf balls, that stuff was hard and pretty thick,
yeah,
and it was hard to get off.
well, yeah, I mean, I just used a spindle gouge and clean them off.
Hey, I thought you took the cover off.
David, you're up now.
I made this little game here, we won't go into that, and I turned these. I got some bird's eye maple from Mr. Sherman last year, long sticks. I wanted to make these little pins, and I kind of didn't want to eyeball, do them by eye. So I took it, and I forgot to get it off the table. I was sitting down and I left it. It was just a piece of cardboard. I took a string and a pencil, and I drew it and adjusted the length of the string until I got the arc to look about like I wanted. Cut it, don't cut it with scissors, I cut it with a razor blade. And then as I turned it, I could see where it was high, make a little pencil mark on it, work that till it was gone. It came out pretty good. I got the plans for this game from some guy online.
What does it do?
It's a bowling game.
Bowling game, about the bowling alley.
Oh,
What is it called? What's the name of the game?
table skittles, or bar skittles.
Mind your way?
No,
Okay.
not yet.
Gotcha.
Honk. This is my favorite jig. If y'all were here, members last year or the year before, whenever we did jigs, this is my favorite jig. Everybody has to have one of these. It allows you to take and cut or tear a piece of sandpaper in quarters, and you can do multiple pages, hang it on the wall. If you build it right, you can have it whichever side handed you off. You build it backwards, turn the blade around. And I was the world's worst about having 1,000 little pieces of sandpaper around everywhere. But once you get that piece cut into quarters, let me tear one. Hold up. Now I do that on the wall. I do have to put my finger on the blade. You can do several sheets, 3 or 4 sheets at a time. Most of you probably are used to folding these into thirds. You do that. And when you start sanding with it, just use the end of it and do all 3 sides. And then you tear that off and and you just use the next piece for half an inch. And you save a little money here or there. I never do flat work, but I built that box for that game, and I discovered this jig online. I thought I'd share. It goes on your table saw, and you used it to make those dovetails, or whatever they call those joints. Finger joints. The only thing critical about this was the little peg right there. It has to be exact to match the curve of your saw blade. If it's not, you'll never get those things to work. And all these have to be the same thickness. And yet, this hangs on your, and you just, and it gives you that much play. You go over the next one, 50 times. And then you reverse every one of these from the position it's in. And then you do the other one. This was my first attempt. They're not all the same, so it didn't work too good. I'm done.
Got a very crude jig to cut a log, a straight line in the log. Put a runner on here to match the groove on my bandsaw, and then got this, put one end of the log up here, and then I've got flexibility to put this wherever it fits. And this holds it down with sandpaper down there on both sides. It's a good match, and so you slide it up, and for me, this is about 1/4 of an inch from the bandsaw blade for here, and you just go. I mean, it's, you know, if you've ever tried to cut a log lengthwise straight, it's impossible for me to do offhand. But with this, it makes it, if you anchor your piece in there, it works real well. And this is a simple little deal. So that's my jig. Doesn't have anything to do with turning, but you can turn once you get the log fixed.
You gotta start somewhere.
So that's it.
All right, cool. A lot of times when I make boxes, you'll start out with small wood, and it's like, okay, I got to turn a tendon on it. I'm going to waste a lot of wood, and it's only going to be about 1 inch deep. So what I do is I buy poplar, and I cut little squares, and turn a waste block, and on the piece of wood, I'll turn just like 1/8 of an inch, the same size as a Forstner bit. And then with the waste block, I'll take it and I will coat it with thin CA glue to seal it. And spray it with accelerator, and then take thick CA and then stick them together. And you've got a waste block, and you're not going to waste wood using a tendon. So that's it. And I use sanding discs, and usually they end up everywhere. These clips with a rare earth magnet on them, I've found these at Northern Tool, and they work great. I mean, you can stick them everywhere, and they're not that cheap. I think you get 2 for about $5.95 or something like that. And how many of you have been turning green wood, and you start to try to move your tool rest and it just won't move? What you do is take Johnson's paste wax and a piece of steel wool and wax your ways. And also, if you take the banjo off and clean that bar where the this bar here, it starts to get, I'll just call it funk. And if you take it, and if it's really bad, you might have to hit it with a piece of sandpaper, but wax it up, wax the ways, and then everything moves nice. The banjo on the Powermatic is heavy as hell. And there's times when If I had a Vic mark, it wouldn't do that. But anyway, I can sit there and just move it with one hand, and it works. But eventually, it'll wear off. And then, how many times have you been turning a real delicate curve, and it just seems like everything's sticking on your tool rest? Take it and sand it, and then come back with. I use Renaissance wax. I just put a thin coat on it, wipe it off, and stuff just slides effortlessly.
Yeah, I use a candle.
The candle? Okay, that's it. But then it'll wear off also. But anyway, that's just a few tricks.
The only thing you have to watch right after you wax it is you're so used to moving it when it was rough,
Yeah.
you gotta be careful when you... I don't know how I know that.
So anyway, and Harbor Freight is your friend. You can buy cheap tools. Because there's no sense. So when I first started power sanding, I bought one of those Milwaukee close quarter drills. It worked great for about 6 months. And that sucker is about $165. And so Harbor Freight, they sell one. It doesn't look anything like the Milwaukee, but it's a close quarter drill. I think it's $29.95. And it's held up for about 3 years. And then as far as measuring tools, I mean calipers and dividers, stuff like that. I mean, they're not made for the lateral loads that we put on them. So anyway, they get filled up with dust, and so anyway.
Well, whatever electric tools you have, blow them out with some compressed air. I've got a Milwaukee that I've had since before I was turning.
Yeah.
And I used it, I made a lot of bandsaws like this, and there was a lot of sanding.
Yeah.
And I just blow it out, and there were a couple of weeks or so.
By the way, if you guys, anyone,
So
unless
anyway,
you want to spend the money on
anybody else want to add a
Yeah, I got a couple.
tip?
I got a couple. If you want to have a compass that you can use a Sharpie in, you take a couple of pieces of whatever, this masonite, and you can make with this little one, I made it fancy shapes, but 27/64 is a Sharpie, and you can make this with a sharp quarter-20 put in there, and you can turn, on the rough half-sawn log, pencils won't cut it, so this will make you a nice circle. And this one's mostly for pin turners, but if you want to cut less air, you put this on your bandsaw and you cut your corners off your pin blanks, and that works pretty good. And Milwaukee, if you tell Milwaukee people you use that on a sander, there's no warranty. I read that years ago, but and then the golf balls, if you want a really nice handle for a file, you drill a hole in the golf ball, pound your tine on there, and you got really good control with your files. But there's no warranty on the balls, right?
Let me make a hole in one. I just make one hole.
Guaranteed.
That's
All
it.
right. Right. Anybody else?
John, you want to tell us about how you did that?